I think what's really shocking is that if you had a time machine and you take this article 20 years in the past and you were to show it to the people of Britain, they wouldn't believe that this is their country. They would say something like, well, like that's what the Chinese are doing. Like that's a dictatorship, an authoritarian regime. Like how would this happen in the free nation of Britain? But now, not only people do not say that, they just don't care. And I think they don't care it's because, number one, people are desensitized to censorship. You know, the same way that they say sexist jokes normalize sexism. Well, I'm pretty sure that censorship on social media has normalized the concept of censorship and deplatforming. And most people believe that it doesn't affect them, but in reality it does, because what happens is people have grievances, and those people want to vote for someone that represents them and address their grievances. But when you do that, it seems that person gets punished by the institutions. So if you're a nobody, if you're a random person on the street, you can say pretty much whatever you want. Like, there's not going to be any consequences for you. And this is where the illusion that it's not going to affect you happens. But when those random people elect someone, well, that person ends up getting punished to the point where people should be afraid, they should be terrorized to hold positions that the institutions don't want. And what's interesting is that this is actually the definition of fascism. It's a merger between the government and the institutions. So the government can't do certain things. Like, the government is restrained, for now at least, in doing certain things that it doesn't want. So like in the United States, they couldn't pass the Green New Deal. So what they do instead is they're getting the corporations like BlackRock in order to push the Green New Deal by forcing other companies to do it. And this is what's happening in the United Kingdom as well. Like, they couldn't stop Brexit, but what they can do is they can punish the people that supported it. And what's interesting is that Brexit was put up to a vote several times. So they're literally against democracy. I mean, they're saying that Nigel Farage's views is at odds with the position of inclusivity that the bank has. So the bank is so inclusive that they have to exile more than half of the country. Like, more than half of the country has views that the bank doesn't agree with. And that's how inclusive they are. Inclusivity actually means wokeness, by the way. It means like he is against our woke ideology. If you say it like that, it makes sense, right? Because if you say, oh, it's inclusive, and therefore we have to exile half the nation, that doesn't make sense. So apparently their problem with Nigel Farage, which is why they shut down his bank account, is due to the fact that he's friends with Donald Trump, he supported Brexit, and he has, I guess, like some takes on the LGBT issues that the bank doesn't agree with. So now the bank is a moral institution. You live in a society where you literally cannot do transactions without a credit card. Like, I went to London. This shocked me. As an Eastern European, I was actually shocked. But you cannot go into London Zoo without a credit card. Like, if you have cash, you have paper money in your hand, they will not accept it. It's the same with the London Eye. It's the same with the London Dungeon and many other attractions. They will flat out refuse to take cash away from you. And when you're looking at what's being planned, I mean, the law is already passed. They already passed the point of talking about it. Now they're in the point of implementing. Central bank digital currency is what they want next. So basically, they want hyper control of everything you do with your finances and your money. And on top of that, the bank is now a moral institution. So you gotta pray to the bank now, right? You gotta make sure that you're kept in touch with whatever policies and programs the bank has at that particular point in time. I don't know when people agreed to this, but I guess it's a tacit agreement. This is why they're telling you. Like I always wondered, what they know that these positions are incredibly unpopular. Like, they're very aware that most people do not agree with the concept. Okay, well, if you have a position of Brexit, that you shouldn't have a bank account. Like, I don't know how many people would even want to live in a country like that. So why do they say it? Because obviously it's very unpopular. And the reason they say it is because they expect the tacit agreement. Like, if people don't speak out, if people don't do anything about it, then it must mean that they're okay with it. I think this is the only reason why the World Economic Forum, for example, has some of the most unpopular videos on the internet, and they keep posting more. Like, literally every single position that they have is severely downvoted, severely hated by the public, universally so. And there's no other explanation. So look at this, the quote's back. He is seen as xenophobic and racist. I mean, the bank itself is seen as fascistic. But I guess, like, that's not how it works, right? You don't get to criticize the bank gets to criticize you. He's considered by many to be disingenuous grifter. Yeah, but, like, I'm pretty sure that many other people consider him a champion of the little guy. Not to mention, like, disingenuous grifter. Like, so what? So what if a person is a disingenuous grifter? I don't think Nigel Farage is, by the way. But his views apparently are at odds with our position as an inclusive organization, yeah. So, not only Nigel Farage has been denied access to banks, apparently his family as well. And he is not the only one. There are other Tory MPs. Everyone that has been denied is a right-winger, it seems. And Tory MPs and their families had this happen to them. And it's a very concerning trend. I think it's mainly in Britain now, like, where high-ranking politicians are completely refused service by the banks, as I mentioned, in a country where you need banking system in order to operate. I mean, even in Romania, for example, you can't make transactions more than $1,000 without the use of a bank. Like, it's illegal. So, like, if you want to buy an expensive car, if you want to buy a house, it has to go through a bank. So, it's interesting that utilities like electricity, like water, you know, these are utilities, and they can't, like the electric company can't cut you off. Like, the electric company can't go, oh, well, you know, Coates Bank, well, you go against our policy of anti-fascism. Like, you're being a little bit fascistic here by trying to impose morality on the people. So we're going to cut your electricity to your bank. They can't do that. Right? It's illegal. Because it's a utility, so everyone has to have it. But when it comes to the banks, they're not considered utilities. They should. Honestly, like, if the Conservatives had any sense, that's what they would do. They would consider banks to be utilities. Like, it's still a private company. It still makes money. However, it's not allowed to cut people off. If you want CBDC. But we know that's not how it works, right? Like, they're now an instrument of control. So, at this point, why do you even vote politicians? Because obviously, no politician is going to be able to represent you if your interest goes against the banks. Like, the bank's interests are the primordial ones. Because if you get a politician to represent you that goes against the banks, well, he's going to lose his bank accounts. And Nigel Farage is already contemplating on leaving the United Kingdom. Let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.